Hello you lovely viewers, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to share 12 amazing products for your gravel bike that can either improve speed, comfort or reliability. And these are products I actually use, so I can personally recommend. So let's dive straight in with a product that can save you some weight on your bike. And the risk of puncturing off-road is pretty high. Loads of brambles and thorns are trying to ruin your day. So you need to carry spare inner tubes. And ones like these, a boot-out inner tube, take up lots of space and are quite heavy, which is why TPU inner tubes like this make a lot of sense. I mean, look at the difference in not only space, but also weight as well. You can carry 2 or 3 of these in the same weight and space as one of these. So leave these at home and get some of these instead, although they are more expensive. But there are cheaper versions on the market and most bike manufacturers make these days. These are brand new by WTB and these are sized for a gravel tyre from 32 to 47mm wide tyres, so it won't stretch as much as a narrow road TPU inner tube. And they are a very distinctive colour, they definitely stand out. And one nice detail with these inner tubes is they include some repair patches in case you puncture them. You get 2 small patches there and an alcohol wipe to make sure they're all clean. So if you do puncture your backup inner tube, you can at least repair it. So these don't have a removable valve core, which you don't really need on an inner tube. And the benefit is with certain pumps, you won't unscrew the valve core when you've just spent ages and loads of energy inflating the tyre. So those are my go-to gravel inner tubes right now in my saddlebag, in my frame pack for spares, just in case I have a puncture. Next up, frame protection, because scratching your gravel bike riding off-road is going to happen, especially if you go bike packing, you're strapping bags to the frame and the fork, scratches will happen, which is why some clear protective tape is a smart idea and costs a few pounds. I think this is £8 from Amazon, I'll put a link down below. There are loads of companies that do clear tape. You can get some design for different frames, but I find this works extremely well. So you get a nice roll of tape, get it in different widths as well. Simply get a pair of scissors, cut tape to measure, then wrap around your frame. And you can be as careful or slapdash as you want. So put some of this in the key places on the frame, like down tube, top tube, head tube, wherever you might strap a bag to, on a down tube for rock strikes, and it will mean your bike won't get battered, won't get scratched. So that's great if you just care about the condition and the appearance of your bike, and especially if you have any plans or not to sell the bike in the future, because when you come to sell, pull that tape off and the bike should be as good as new underneath the tape. So that's a very simple, affordable and easy way to look after your bike, and a top tip from me, something I do on my own gravel bikes, and if you are buying a new bike, something you should definitely do straight away. Next up, pedals, and I prefer mountain bike pedals over road pedals for riding off-road, because walking in mountain bike shoes is much easier, whether it's a slippery cafe floor or a muddy slippery trail, than a slick carbon fiber road shoe. And since I was a teenager, I've always used Shimano SPD pedals and they just work, they're reliable, and these are 520, don't cost a lot of money either, and they're pretty much indestructible. The bearings are still smooth on these despite being several years old and never having been serviced, and I'll probably never service them either because they just keep going and going and going. The bodies are tough and durable as well. You can adjust the tension as well for engaging and disengaging from the pedals, and cleats are included in the box as well. They are quite chunky, and if you are feeling flush, you could upgrade to a fancier version for more money, but they work just the same, and when you're clipped in, there's no difference, just a weight on the scales. So if you're a weight weenie, these might be worth the price, but for most people I think these are just fine. Although these do look a bit smarter, they have kind of skinnier axles and a bit less material, but in terms of performance and mud shedding abilities, these work just fine. But one of my favorite pedals is actually these, a trail version of these. So the same mechanism inside, but a bigger cage surrounding them. And I find that makes clipping into the pedals a bit easier because there's more platform to locate with your shoe. There's a bit more support for the shoe as well from the broader platform, which if you're using a more flexible mountain bike shoe, which is a good tip for riding off-road, then you have a bit more support there as well. And if you're bike packing and you're riding to the pub in the evening with your flip-flops or sandals on, then these are definitely a lot easier than these when you're not clipped in. But they are heavier, probably don't look as good as these skinny things, but mountain bike pedals for the win on a gravel bike, and these are definitely my preferred option if you want to know what I actually use when I go bike packing and gravel riding. I definitely ditch your inner tubes on a gravel bike and go tubeless because of the benefit of minimizing a risk of a puncture, and you run lower pressures with lower risk of a flat tire. And many bikes now come tubeless ready with rim tape and valves and tires, but many don't. And this Muc-Off kit is ideal for prepping your bike for a tubeless conversion. You get everything you need in here to set the bike up, including rim tape. So a nice roll of pink rim tape. This is designed for wide rims between 23 and 25. You get narrower and wider if you need it as well. You get a pair of valves. So 2 tubeless valves there, and also 2 sachets of tubeless sealant. And these are very easy to use. You simply remove the screw cap and push that straight onto the valve there, and then squirt the contents into the tires. There are other products on the market and other cheaper solutions, but considering you get everything in a box and it's ready to go, it's a no-brainer. And I've used that on gravel bikes in the past, and it does work really well. So that's my top tip for going tubeless. I'll put a link to that down below. And if you are going tubeless, you need a way to repair a puncture, which can still happen with tubeless. There are many different ways to plug a hole in a tire, and they all use similar systems. This is a Peaty's Holeshot, so a mountain bike company, but works really well on a gravel bike. It's a nice metal aluminium container. Different colors are available with a screw top, and inside you get these bacon strips, which are a very common system derived from motorbikes and cars, but now used by bicycles. You get thick ones and thin ones inside this metal case. And what's really cool about this product is usually you have a sort of fork shape which you have to very carefully and sometimes trickily thread the bacon strip through, and can mean getting that into a tire and out quite tricky. But what Peaty's have done is gone for a sort of single-sided tip, which makes putting this bacon strip on much easier, as you just saw, and then makes it much easier to push that into a tire. We have a nice sort of arrowhead shaped pointy bit there. Push that into a tire, and then extracting is much easier because it's not, the bacon strip isn't held onto the two-pronged device like it can be. So that is a very simple way to plug a tubeless puncture. Now my preferred system is a Dynaplug like this, because we have the brass tip, but these are very expensive and replacements are expensive as well. But these work pretty much just as well and cost a lot less money, and get a lot of spares in there as well. So a really simple way to easily fix a puncture, and you get the nice small aluminium container available in different colors and doesn't cost a lot of money. So definitely need that if you are running tubeless, which I think you should be if you're running a gravel bike off-road. Since we're talking about flat tires and punctures, you need a good way to inflate a tire if you do have a puncture. And many people do like using a CO2 canister like this, which are small, compact and quick. But I've had them let me down in the past, so I leave them at home and save them for racing, and instead opt for a very reliable pump. And my advice for buying a pump is to not skimp and buy the best pump you can afford, because take it from me, I've had pumps let me down in the past, and when you buy a side of the road with a pump that's let you down, it's not a lot of fun at all. And while this Silca GRAVELERO pump is quite expensive, it does work extremely nicely and won't let you down in the middle of nowhere when you have a flat tire. So this is a big chamber pump designed to really get a lot of air into a big volume tire very easily indeed. Nice solid construction, feels nice and weighty. It's not super lightweight, but weight isn't everything when you're riding in the middle of nowhere. So a rubber cap opens to reveal the bendy hose bit with a small lever to attach that onto the valve. So no screwing it onto the valve. so the valve core won't come undone. And the benefit of that bendy hose is when it's on the valve and you're really focused on stroking the pump and inflating that tyre, that's not going to wiggle around and damage the valve, which can happen with small mini pumps with no bendy hose section. So big long stroke, get loads of air into the tyre very quickly, and you can easily get to 40, 50, 60 psi, which is what I run for a tubeless tyre, or go up to 80 or 90 if you need to seat the tyre on the rim. So yes, not a cheap pump, but one that does come with a lifetime warranty, which is added value. And while it's not the lightest or the smallest, it won't let you down when you're riding in the middle of nowhere, miles and miles from home. Next up, we have this Ergon saddle, which is designed for all-road gravel adventures. And comfort is very important when riding gravel. You're riding on rough, bumpy terrain. And if you're going bike packing, you're on a bike for 3 or 4 days, comfort is critical. And this is a saddle I've been using on my Crocs for the last couple of years. And what I like about it is a special layer of foam just there, which offers an extra layer of cushioning between you and a bike. And I found that layer of foam does go quite a way to just alleviating any numbness or soreness and offering a bit more comfort over a regular saddle. And it's like having micro suspension on your bike. It's also a nice shaped saddle too. It has a nice broad shape at the back for good support. So when you sat right on the back of the saddle, that's nice and supportive area there. And a low friction, slipperier side material just to remove any sort of chafing or irritation on the sides there. And it's a robust saddle as well. I found it to be very durable. Comes with metal rails, keep the price down. There is a version with carbon rails if you're feeling a bit flush. And while a bit more expensive than their basic entry-level saddles, the addition of that foam does make a nice difference on a gravel bike. So a bit more comfort without really going too extreme, like adding a suspension fork to your bike. If you're finding riding your gravel bike off-road is occasionally a bit jarring and uncomfortable, you might consider a bit of suspension. Not a suspension fork, but a suspension stem is a really popular upgrade like the Redshift, which I have reviewed in the past. But I've become a fan of a suspension seat post like this one from Cane Creek. And I actually find a suspension seat post like this a bigger benefit when riding off-road than a suspension stem in my testing experience. Because when you're riding over a very rough track, it can be very tricky to stay in the saddle because you're being bounced around the saddle, kicking into your bum. But with a suspension seat post really soaking up those shocks and vibrations, so you can stay in the saddle and keep on the pedals and keep the power up and the speed going. And that makes a bigger difference to riding fast or smoothly over rough trails. This one from Cane Creek offers 35mm of travel from this parallelogram design with an elastomer in the middle. You can swap the elastomer, but the one it came with has been fine for me. There's not a lot of active movement, it's quite firm, so you could soften it up if you want, but I find the firm action means it works when it needs to and doesn't work all the time and feels almost normal. It's not like riding on a very plush pillow, it's just really soaking up the bigger impacts, the jarring edges of rocks and roots. And there's no bobbing when you're riding along, it's not like you're bouncing up and down either, so it feels like a normal bike, but getting the benefits of the suspension. Now it is heavier than a regular seat post, but I can ride over a rough trail faster and smoother and in less pain with this seat post on my bike than a regular carbon seat post. Now, if you are concerned about weight and you want a bit more give without the weight penalty, then this Ergon VCLS split seat post is another option as well. It's essentially the same as the one you get on many canyon, road and gravel bikes, because Ergon were founded by the brother of the Canyon founder. So 2 carbon halves of seat posts split down the middle with a fixing bolt in the middle to adjust the angle of the saddle, and 2 bolts on the top to hold the saddle rails in place. I seem to have lost one of the bolts somewhere. As you see, it's very muddy from recent use. So that is very lightweight, very easy to add to any bike, 27.2mm diameter. The only fiddle with this is adjusting the angle of the saddle, because you have to have the bolt loose when you put it into the frame, adjust the saddle angle, carefully take it out and then tighten that bolt to the recommended torque setting. And that does offer more comfort than a regular seat post. Not as much as the Cane Creek I just showed you, but a nice way to get more comfort for minimal weight penalty, although it's not a cheap upgrade. But if you want more comfort, it's a small price to pay for a bit more smoothness when riding off-road. If you're wondering how best to carry snacks and spares when you're riding your gravel bike, then many bikes these days have 2 bolts on the top tube for which you can fit a bag like this. This one is from British company Apidura that I've used on recent adventures and works very well indeed. So we have 2 bolts in the bottom that go into the frame, and then a magnet to hold the flap open. It means you get into the contents very easily indeed. And it's all lined with nice soft material on the inside as well. And there is a small flap at the front for a cable to go through to your computer with a battery bank in here, or to your lights or whatever device you are charging on the go. So these come in different sizes, but this one is pretty perfect for most all-day, multi-day adventures. And it does stay nice and stable on the top tube, doesn't rattle around, doesn't move around, and if you pack it carefully, it won't bow out at the sides either. I love the fact we have a magnet closure, so you can very easily get to whatever is in there, which for me is usually a camera, like a GoPro, when I'm filming on the route. It's not waterproof, but water resistant, and will keep most contents pretty dry in all but the most heavy, sustained downpours. So a nice way to carry spare food, a few tools, bits and bobs, but mostly food really for long rides without going to your back pockets all the time. So picture the scene, you've been riding all day, you finally reach your overnight stop, and you've got a nice cold beer which you bought from the shop or you have in your bag. You need a bottle opener like this, a wolf tooth bottle opener, CNC'd from aluminium, available in a wide range of colours, and also doubles up as a disc brake rotor truing tool there. I love tools that have multi-functions like this. So having a tool that can both open your beer and straighten your disc brakes and looks this nice, is definitely a nice way to end this video. I'll put links to all the products featured down below, and if you click on those links, I may earn a small affiliate fee, which does support the channel. And if you want to see some of the best affordable road products, then watch the video right up here. And of course, don't forget to subscribe by hitting the button right here. But that is all today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again very soon.